Stay on.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of The Cut. I'm your host, Christian Williams, and I am here, as always, with Randy Hall. Randy, how are you, man?
Doing good, man. A pretty quick and easy Monday. Had like a 2-hour work lunch, so took a long time. Very terrible being in 3 completely different drafts right now for fantasy. It is the worst thing possible for fantasy. Definitely not the worst thing possible.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's on like 3 different platforms, and I think that's the problem. Like when I have a bunch of sleeper drafts going, I feel confident that I can make those picks. But right now with the 3 different formats, it is very difficult, and I am not enjoying it all that much.
We'll see. I mean, first campus to Canton, so doing a college and an NFL at the same time was nice. We'll see how it plays out. But adding in the All-22 League as well, which is completely new for all of us, and we have no information really to go off of at all. We're just completely diving into the deep end. And I'll tweet out my team tomorrow. I noticed you and Jeff both tweeted out your first 2 rounds, but I'll tweet out to try and get some information out for the next group of people that do this, hopefully.
Yeah, it's a good time though. I mean, I picked a tackle, I picked an edge rusher. It's so cool picking those positions when you've never done it, and I can't. I mean, there are some, like, obviously it's challenging, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I can tell. So
we were literally playing the show. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and it was my turn to pick, and I was deciding between like wide receivers and stuff. I'm like, I'm picking Trent Williams. I gotta keep my brand going. I'm going with the lineman, bro. I don't care. I don't care if it's the wrong pick.
I added Elton Jenkins today as my first lineman, so
it's different. I like it, but we'll see. We'll probably talk about that one of these days once it's eventually done with 53 rounds, I believe. So in a month.
In about 5 weeks probably. But all right, guys, we are here to talk about the NFC South depth charts. As we've been doing, we kind of skipped over it last week, but we are returning to that. We are also going to be doing a hero running back mock draft, kind of giving some insight as to that strategy this year and what that kind of looks like from the 12 spot, I think is what we're going with. So we'll hit on that. Obviously, we have some news. We kind of buried the lead here. We've been talking. I guaranteed that we would have this news last Monday. We didn't. We did have it this Monday. Deshaun Watson was suspended 6 games. Sue Robinson put her findings into a 15-page document or 16-page document, I think, where she recommended that the NFL suspend him 6 games. She said that her ruling was binding, even though it's not. There is still an appeals process. Go ahead.
But it's an appeals process we know little about. That's why, and I know, here, I'll quickly pull up his name just because he does such good work. I'll kind of shut him out. Drew Davenport. He's always really good with all the legal stuff, and he was breaking it down. I only got a little bit reading in because we're hopping on this, and it did seem like he was kind of he's not like stuck to it, but he's also not freely able to just change it. It's a completely, he doesn't have autonomous power to extend it or remove it or lessen it. It's kind of binding.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. I've tweeted out my thoughts on it. I'm not going to say it on the podcast. I think I've said it enough over the last 3 months.
I think we've everyone covered our stance on it.
Everyone kind of knows what that is. What I did want to say, she did find him to be in violation of the personal conduct policy on all 3 accounts. So she ruled in favor of the NFL. And The other stipulation is that Deshaun has to use team masseuses from now on, and so only Brown's staff. Not really going to get into the logistics behind everything because the appeals process is still here. So just to lay this out, the NFL has now about 48 hours ish, or I guess 56 hours. Yeah.
Thursday at 9 a.m. on the dot, I believe, to
Yes.
decide fully. And we kind of discussed this early today. We were kind of going back and forth where Christian expected them to go very quickly, and I kind of pushed back on that. And after talking, I kind of felt more on your side, and then immediately after I felt that way, they were like, well, we're reviewing it. I was like, yes.
Yeah, but they did get that statement out. That's all I was looking for, was like a statement.
Yeah. But see, I thought you were thinking they were gonna, well, we're appealing. I was like, well, I mean, they're definitely gonna weigh this because this is the first case of the new instance of the appeal process for the CBA and just the discipline process in general. It didn't go to the independent mediator judge and everything with Calvin Ridley, so we didn't get to see it. I think he wishes he did now. So,
yeah, but that was such a cut and dry. Like, if you break this policy, you get suspended for 1 year. Like, that is
exactly. So. And that's why a lot of people are, going to make a lot of jokes about how Watson gets 6 games, but it's a very tough thing. There's no real evidence or proof against him. That's why the criminal cases got dropped, and he's settling all but one now so far of all these cases. Anytime it says, any kind of sexual assault and stuff where there's not like actual DNA evidence, it's usually very hard to prove a lot of stuff without some cameras and other stuff. And it's massage places, they generally don't want cameras. It's very tough, and it sucks for the women of this that they can't get all the evidence that's needed to really do something more about this. So I'm definitely hopeful they're getting at least enough compensation for them personally here to cover all the, whatever they went through, which again, we have no idea. So it is tough. And that's why it's such a weird case. And everyone's been arguing whether it's going 4 to 8 and 12 to 2 years. And it was always going to be 6 to 8 for me because it is just, we don't have the precedent. This is the precedent.
That's where I'll push back. I've gotten into a few discussions. So she actually stated in the report that the NFL's the previous handlings of all of the other punishments was 6 games, all of them. In terms of nonviolent sexual assault.
Yeah.
That's a freaking oxymoron, by the way. Assault isn't the word But what I was going to say though is like that was one case for all of them.
Yeah,
and so to have 24 cases and then say, there's no precedent, that's where it's weird. But you know what? It is what it is. I think the NFL would be smart. I kind of pulled back and said, I hope they don't appeal. I hope they do something that's more meaningful than the power struggle that an appeal would indicate. Like donate money, pay reparations, do something that shows that you actually cared about the women instead of just fighting for your power, which is what the appeal would be. So
exactly. But it's the NFL, so we'll see on that aspect. But I think we kind of cover that as much as we need to as of right now. I'm sure next week we might have a little bit more to talk about, but
maybe
besides
not.
That, leak news, the Kyler homework stipulation got taken out, which is hilarious and deemed by many people the most ridiculous thing to put into a contract.
Do you think it was intentional though? Like, do you think they actively said he does not study? So I think it was in his contract.
Well, and he does film study because he has to. On the job, he physically does it with the team. He has to. But I think they were putting it out there like, hey, you're getting paid all this money. Take it more seriously. Don't think about baseball. Don't think about video games all the time. Do the extra do the extra work that all the greats did,
Yeah.
and do currently. So, because that's stuff like that is what's separating Kyler and, just second half of the season.
Well,
But
and I think
once
that plays a big role in it. Like I
it
think
does,
teams.
but the Call of Duty stuff is definitely a meme, but
It
it's
is.
still, and it's a little bit coachy with Kingsbury too, because he also takes his foot off the gas way too often in the second half. So we'll see how it goes. I believe in Kyler. I believe you do too, that he can get to that next level that he needs to be a playoff every year quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's cool that they pulled it out of the contract after the jokes were made. But I mean, I heard an NFL player on a podcast recently say how concerning it was that was in his contract. And if I'm the Cardinals and I felt like I had to pull that out of the contract, now he's not obligated to do it. So I mean, he might not, but I hope he does. I hope he does. So.
He should. But it's immediate thoughts to like Jamarcus Russell and other failures at the quarterback position that truly didn't take it seriously off the field.
Right.
And that's why it's always going to elicit some kind of joke response, because in a sense Jamarcus Russell and other quarterbacks like that became a joke. So because of the limited work they put in off the field.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we don't have too much else. James Washington for the Cowboys, he fractured his foot today. He got carted off. He's out 6 to 10 weeks. Pretty much a dagger. I mean, I think that he was going to be the holdover till Gallup got back, and I think Gallup could be back by the end of a 10-week period. Probably not
Easy.
6. 6 weeks is the start of 6 weeks is the start of the NFL season. So,
Yeah.
James Washington missing all of camp with a new team, not ideal. But I mean, Simi Fioco, they need to sign a receiver is basically what I'm saying. So
I'm not sure if they fully need to. They have Brown there, who definitely stepped up a few times last year. Then obviously with Jalen Tolbert coming in, I think those two could at least be a weapon. And then you add in Pollard and Zeke in the passing game, and obviously Schultz. I think they can move the ball. Obviously with the top wide receiver and Lamb. If they bring in someone else, that's great, but it just becomes an overly crowded room by week 4 of the season, because Gallup and Washington will be back, and both. I mean, Washington was going to be the wide receiver too, in my opinion. Tolbert wasn't going to beat him, at least to start the year, and then Gallup would retain the role when he got back and healthy. But it's just tough to think when both those guys are back, them bringing in Jameson Crowder when he gets cut is going to elevate this offense past what the two younger bodies will do.
Yeah, I think they also like TJ Vasher quite a bit, second-year player. Yeah. He's made a couple highlight plays in camp at the very least, and I think he's put some good reps out there. Moving over to the next item, I just wrote in here, rookie report, everyone is doing well.
There's a couple that aren't, but
so here's the thing. I think if a rookie right now is injured, that's hurting their stock because other rookies have an opportunity. And the very prime example is Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs is balling out in Packers camp, which is a good sign. I think he's a pretty good Marquez Valdez-Scantling replacement in that he has terrible hands and he runs downfield a lot. But apparently he's had some good hands in practice. So I think he's kind of sealing a role. And when you have rookies that get hurt, they sometimes struggle to get out of the gates. Think of Rashad Bateman last year too. But anyone you want to highlight specifically here?
Well, like one of the guys doing bad is like Pickett. He's not clicking so far. So I think it's pretty much locked in. Trubisky's going to be the starter with
Mason
with
Rudolph
Pickett as QB3 at that point, because I mean, whoever, like if Pickett wins, Trubisky's the 2, but Pickett's going to always be the 3 if Trubisky's the quarterback, because they're going to let Rudolph take the 2s. So it's going to be weird. I still think there's a chance Pickett plays this year regardless, but I want to see a few games out of Trubisky here in this offense, but I'm still pretty hopeful that they're going to possibly barely get over their win projected total of 7.5.
They're not going to be very good. But one rookie that makes me second guess that, George Pickens, is balling out at camp. He had a good first couple of days. He hasn't really had many highlights. Calvin Austin has been having some highlights the last couple of days. I think that means something.
I was going to say Sky Moore seems to be showing out for the Chiefs camp, even though Juju is being touted as the clear lead dog. I think they're expecting to get more from Sky earlier than they thought they would, so that's good there. And that's basically what we're going to get here. I mean, Algier might be the starter. Yeah, obviously he might be the starter at some point in the season. Like, that's such a weird report to say.
Of course, but if he makes the team, that's the case. That's running back.
Exactly. It's an open running back room. Of course, he could be the starter. So there's a bunch of that, and then there's stuff like Gainwell taking a couple first team touches. That's fine. Miles Sanders knows the offense. That's and Gainwell they want to use. That makes sense. Stuff like that. So, but I think that's again. Take everything with a grain of salt so far. It's been a week. Let this continue to flesh out. We'll get through some of the rest of the camps, get through some preseason games, with the first one starting Thursday with the Raiders and Jaguars in the Hall of Fame game, where you'll see maybe like one Raider starters and probably a lot of the Jaguar starters. So it's not going to be the best game. That's my point on that. But once we get through this month, we'll a lot of these reports will mean more because we have more context to it.
Yeah, for sure. I did want to note too, James Robinson still listed as the starting running back for the Jaguars on their first depth chart.
True, but he's like jogging drills.
Oh yeah, that's mostly like I mean he's not going to play. ETN probably won't play.
Robinson's 100% playing. I don't think Robinson plays a preseason game.
No, me neither. But it is worth noting that Robinson still holds the starting running back job despite Travis Etienne showing out in camp. He's been having a crazy week and a half. So, All right. I think that'll do it. You know, rookies are going to get a lot of hype. Everyone's excited for them. Just temper it and try to make sure you're trusting your sources. There are some beat reporters out there that are having, dueling reports on what is actually happening out there. I've seen a lot of quarterback battle stuff that it's not lining up from beat reporter to other beat reporter. So, all right, let's get into our NFC South depth chart analysis. We're going to start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running backs: Leonard Fournette, Rashad White, Keyshawn Vaughn, Gio Bernard, Kenyon Barner. Wide receivers: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Julio Jones, Jalen Darden, Tyler Johnson, Cyril Grayson Jr., Scotty Miller, Rashad Perriman, Vincent Smith, Cameron Brown, Kalen Geiger, Devin Tompkins, and Jareth Stearns. Tight ends: Kyle Rudolph, Cameron Brake, K. Dotton, Kokeeft, Ben Beast, J.J. Howland, Cody McElroy. We're just going to go speed rounds question. First question I think a lot of people have for the Bucs: is Julio Jones going to be the wide receiver 3 or 4 for this team when Godwin is full go, which Godwin is pretty much going to be full go from week 1 on?
Godwin healthy, I would say 3, because Gage just a lot of what Godwin does. So I think that's why they brought him in, to be kind of like a change of pace and help out in case Godwin's out. And he's going to have a good role there. But Julio can play inside, outside. He's a bigger body. It's a receiver that Brady likes to work with on the outside. That's why Evans is so good. Evans is still obviously going to dominate, and same with Godwin. But Julio seemingly is going to be structured to take a lot of the Gronk touches, especially in the red zone, which is very hilarious because it's Julio Jones who doesn't get red zone touches.
Yeah, I know.
But if that happens, he will be a fantasy asset and playable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we think this offense supported 3 wide receivers pretty consistently last year, and I think Julio is that, plus the absence of Gronk. I don't think Kyle Rudolph is taking all of the groundwork. I just don't think that's
I
happening.
think they could support 4 wide receivers this year. It's just 2 to the high level and 2 to a lower level, because I don't think Rudolph Braydon really does much for you.
No, I don't think so either. Other question, we've had this discussion. I feel pretty strongly that Rachaad White is going to be the running back 2 and probably take a lot of passing down work. Do you think that's the case? Do you think they still just lean on Lenny to be the workhorse here, with White just being a change of pace? How do you see that shaking out?
This is one of the ones where I kind of want to keep changing it, but I haven't yet. I have him getting – I have Fournette getting workhorse touches. I'm just under 1,000 yards at about 950, 9 touchdowns, 80 targets, 63 catches, 2 touchdowns there. Just absolutely killing it with 261 points, 15 and a half per. And I have White, getting about 100 carries and about 30 catches. And I think that's a very, very reasonable aspect of him, especially with assuming the slow start. But that was also assuming Gio would be on the team. And it's seemingly more likely he's getting cut. So all those touches in the receiving game, I would go right to White, in my opinion. And then all the carries on the ground, I'd say like half and half to Keyshawn and White there. So you're at about 110 carries now, and you're at about 40, 50 catches. So that's a reasonable RB4, RB3, depending on touchdown production. And this is going to be one of the best offenses in football. They threw the most last year.
Yes.
Or second most, one of the two. It's one of the two, and I expect the same thing, just because I think Lenny will be on the same pace of carries, and if you can get less catches from him and swing him to White, which will happen as the year goes on, it should be pretty good. But White has looked good in camp. Lenny obviously has looked decent as he continues to work off the leftover weight from the offseason, which is fine, and we knew he would. It was just a good meme for a while there.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I mean, they said he could play as of day one of camp. He got his weight down, but he's still sitting at 245, and
He's always been a big back, though.
Yeah, but I thought he was like in the 230, 235 range. Like that's a big back.
But a month to cut 10 pounds for an NFL athlete, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anything else on the Bucs before we move on?
Nope.
Okay. Atlanta Falcons next. Running backs: Cordero Patterson, Tyler Algier, Damian Williams, Avery Williams, Quadri and Caleb Huntley. Wide receivers: Drake London, Brian Edwards, Olamide Zaccheaus, Demir Bird, Auden Tate, Kadero Hodge, Geronimo Allison, Frank Darby, Cameron Batson, Tyshawn James, Jared Bernhardt, Stanley Berryhill. Tight ends: Kyle Pitts, Anthony Firkser, John Fitzpatrick, Parker Hesse, Tucker Fisk, John Rain, and Braden Lenius. I don't have a ton of questions for this team because I think we know where the targets are being filtered to. Drake London, I think, is going to be a productive rookie. Kyle Pitts is obviously going to get a decent share of targets. I guess my first question, we've talked a lot about Mariota versus Ritter. Mariota is going to win the job. Have you pinned a point that it flips and Ritter takes over as the starting quarterback sometime in 2022?
Yes. I'm double checking when their bye is. See, that's what I thought. So their bye is week 14. So I have Mariota playing 13 games.
Oh, you have him going all the way to the bye then. Okay.
I'm going all the way to the bye. I have them because from what we're seeing from campus, Ritter is progressing as you would expect as a rookie, but he's still got a ways to go. So what I think is they just full set it with Mariota. They paid him for a reason. They see how it's rolling. And I think in about 8 to 10 weeks, there could be a switch. But once you look at some matchups and stuff, and let's see, week 8, they have Carolina. I think week 8 and 10, they have Carolina. I think either of those is a good swing point. Then week 11, they have a home game against the Bears. I think that's a good starting point. I wouldn't start him week 12 against Washington. I wouldn't start him week 13 against Pittsburgh as the first game. You know what I mean? So if you don't do it by week 11, you just wait till week 15, and it doesn't get better with the defense, but you get 4 weeks of playing against pretty top-end defenses for your rookie against the Saints, Ravens, Cardinals, and Buccaneers to finish, but you get to see a little bit of that shine of the rookie. But I think Mariota will play well enough that he doesn't get yanked really quick. That's the problem.
Do you think that's enough of an evaluation period for them, though? Do you think it matters what Ritter does? I personally think the Falcons are a little better than a top 3 pick at this point.
I don't.
I
don't because their offense is still looking pretty anemic, and the defense lost pieces and it's getting older, and they're infusing talent again. And I think after another draft or two, they should be in a position to where they can possibly do something. That's if the quarterback situation is fixed. But
yeah.
I think over half the year is plenty. Like to start it past, starting week 15. I think that's plenty. You get 4 weeks against some good defenses.
Okay.
You get to see what's going on. It's just I'm not sure. I think week 10 is a likely start point with against the Panthers and then following against the Bears, and then you have a murderer's row for the last 6 games. But in defense, that is. But still, for me, it's either Mariota plays 9 or he plays 13. That's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, that's fair. And I don't think that's how. I think I have it splitting a little earlier because I think they think they're a playoff team, and I think they might need a little. I think they think that. I mean, they were close last year. They had Matt Ryan though.
They were. So. They were close because everyone was close, though. That's what they need to realize.
Yeah, and they really shouldn't be aiming for the playoffs.
They're worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just the quarterback downgrade makes them worse.
Yeah.
But, do you have any interest in Bryan Edwards or Olamide Zaccheaus as a wide receiver option late?
Not really. I have both getting 35 catches with Edwards at about almost 100 more yards and another touchdown. Just because of what he can kind of produce on the outside. I think he has a more solidified role because of London being a little bit inside-outside and Edwards definitely being outside and Zaccheaus definitely being inside. I think if you're doing 2 wide receiver sets, you want London and Edwards, in my opinion, especially with Pitts in the middle. You don't want to clog that up. And Patterson out of the backfield. So you want the middle free and have the 2 bigger bodies on the outside. So while I think Edwards does more than he's ever done for the Raiders, I still don't think it's worth anything.
I agree. I do agree. Do you think Drake London is a top 24 receiver this year?
That is just a fantastic question. I do not know exactly where he finishes, and that's what I was trying to do, but I also want to look at the other stuff.
Okay.
So I have him 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30 on the dot.
Okay. I think that's a reasonable expectation with this offense.
Yeah, and that's 109 targets, 75 catches, just over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. I think that's a very juicy touchdown number for him. So I think that's a well-respectable target share. I have the same amount of catches as Pitts with a little bit less targets and 1 more touchdown, actually. Just because Pitts is clearly still the top option here. So he is going to get double covered a lot. So while I do think he ups the touchdowns and barely ups the yards and catches from last year, it's not going to be this massive jump for Pitts, but he doesn't need a massive jump.
I actually
at the tight end position.
I see a downgrade for Pitts this year. I think Pitts is overvalued right now, and I know that's kind of a hot take, but he's being drafted as a top 5 tight end. I think I have him at 6 right now. But I get the appeal. He's still the top option, like you said. He was incredibly efficient last year. I don't know if that remains with Mariota, personally. In terms of
Mariota's efficient, and Mariota has always been really good with tight ends.
He's
been better with tight ends than receivers. So that's why I think it's pretty safe to say he has the same seasons last year where there was no help really. And if he can increase the touchdown share, I think that's about it. That's all he would need to meet value.
The Russell Gage disrespect, man. You hate to see it.
Gage was not great
as
the one. He played relatively well as the 2 the year before, but as the 1, he couldn't do a ton.
Yeah, he wasn't that good. All right. Anything else on the Falcons?
Nope.
Okay. Carolina Panthers, quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Matt Corral. Running backs, Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard, Deontay Foreman, Spencer Brown, John Lovett, and Darius Bradwell. Wide receivers, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, Rashard Higgins, Brandon Zylstra, Andre Roberts, Keith Kirkwood, CJ Saunders, Shai Smith, Charleston Rambo, Rashawn Henry, Andrew Parchment, Derek Wright. Tight ends, Tommy Tremble, Ian Thomas, Stephen Sullivan, Colin Thompson, Josh Babbitts, and Jared Scott. I apologize if I messed up any names. I for sure did. Okay, I guess Baker's winning the job, right? Do we have to talk about that? Baker Mayfield took the lead in the quarterback competition today. He kind of showed out, threw a lot of touchdowns. Sam Darnold ran and won. So for what it's worth, I think Baker's the starter all 17 weeks, barring injury. Do you have any interest in any of these players outside of Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore?
No, I think the closest is Robbie Anderson, which I do have in a better year than last year. Last year was a big down year. I'm getting a few more targets, a couple more catches, but really I am getting 180 more yards because I think that's more realistic to what Robbie can do with a guy that can actually throw it semi-deep, which Baker wants to.
Yeah,
we'll see how his shoulder's holding up. Yeah. I have a lot of concerns with the shoulder, just seeing other quarterbacks that are better, at least when they are playing, have the same type of injury and play through it like Baker did, and then take a couple of years to get back to normal. And that's a little bit of concern for me. But DJ Moore that won't hurt him at all. I think he's a little bit more efficient this year, gets a little more yards and another touchdown, and he should be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I do have just a slight bit of interest in Tommy Tremble. Baker Mayfield is at his best when he's using a big athletic tight end. We saw it in his rookie year with David Njoku, and we saw his 2 biggest years be when David Njoku actually, like the back of 2020, David Njoku was more involved in the offense as well. So I have I won't draft him, especially in redraft, but I'm intrigued. I think that maybe that could be a top 16 tight end that gives you 4 tight end 1 weeks, and you might be happy with that. But just a weaker guy.
Ian Thomas still hanging around kind of hurts because I think he gets 40% of the tight end targets at that point, and that's just too much for Tremble to really break out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get it. And then no interest in Chuba or Deontay Foreman, right?
No, I think both. I have them combining for about 140 carries and 580 and 4 scores. So I mean, if you put them together, I would want it. But they're going to use both. I think Foreman's brought in for a reason to be a little bit more of a bruiser, while Hubbard is a little bit more along the McCaffrey style of running back, and they needed a bruiser there. So I think both get some work to keep CMC a little bit more healthy. But CMC is still going to eat.
I also think Chuba Hubbard kind of sucked when he was given the opportunity last year in most cases.
172, 612, 5 scores, 3.56 per carry. Not the best.
But also a terrible offensive line.
Exactly. That's the problem. And a very bad game script a lot of the time. I think did he play above where he could have then? No. But I think he met expectation a little bit. Maybe a little bit of a downer, but still.
I think that's fair. I mean, he's a day 3 running back. And
who wasn't expected to do anything. Just get a couple touches here and there, and then had to carry the load, which put too much of a load on his shoulders too early.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's enough Carolina Panthers talk for the year. New Orleans Saints. Quarterback is Jameis Winston. He's practicing already, recovered from the ACL. We don't need to worry about the Taysom Hill nonsense anymore. Running backs, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Dwayne Washington, Tony Jones, Abram Smith, Divine Zigbo. Wide receivers, Michael Thomas has returned. I don't think we talked about that. That probably should have been in the news, but Michael Thomas is practicing and looks good. Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway, Deontay Hardy, Kevin White, Kawan Baker, Aesop Winston Jr., Kirk Merritt, Dijene Dixon, and Rashid Shadeed. Asshole parents. Tight ends, Adam Troutman, Taysom Hill, Nick Vannett, Jawan Johnson, Brandon Dillon, Lucas Krull, and JP Holtz. Okay. There's a looming suspension for Alvin Kamara. It doesn't look like he's going to be suspended for 2022. From everything that has come out about that case, they keep pushing it back. If he is, you're a Mark Ingram believer, and Mark Ingram has been doing well in camp from what I've seen. Do you think that he's valuable?
He has some value as like a flex if Kamara's fully around. But I have him getting like increased workload to start the year and Kamara just exploding on the scene. I don't think you realize how much I have Kamara dominating this year. Like he is 2,
Reasonable.
4, 6. He's RB8 for me in 11 games.
Okay. Yeah, that's Alvin Kamara though.
It is. And I am getting he had 240 carries in 13 games. I am getting 210, 875, 7 touchdowns. I think he gets a better regression in the touchdown department. He has been a high touchdown count guy. It's just the offense was a little anemic most of the year last year with Jameis hurt. So I think that gets back to reality. 84 targets, 62 catches. Getting back to reality of what Kamara is. I think we are a little scorned from last year. This is what Kamara does. This is Kamara, and 25 points a game is well in the possibility for Kamara. 275 points. I really think he can absolutely kill this year. And if he's playing 17 games, I will taper down the pace because I think if he was out 6 games and is the freshest legs we've ever seen, he absolutely explodes to start. Yeah. But I will taper down a little bit of this. But he's going to be top 5 regardless if he plays 17 games. There's absolutely no question.
Yeah, I hear you there. Do you have where do you have interest with Michael Thomas? Are you drafting him as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3?
So I have him playing 14 games, getting 116 targets. So I think he's still very, very useful in the offense. 210 points. That's easily a wide receiver 2. There's no question there. 950, 6 scores. He's going to be very, very valuable. I have his catch percentage going down a bit. He's going to be a little rusty, but he's going to get heavily targeted because while Olave is good, and I think he will be a very, very efficient receiver, I do think the trust level between him and Winston will have to come in a little bit of time. Winston isn't going to be throwing 600 times. I have him at 477 passes in total. So you got to taper down some of the numbers there. And I think Jarvis will carve out a role, especially early on. I have him actually out targeting Olave by 2, but nowhere near the production level. Just because Jarvis is a very, very good short to intermediate receiver at this point, and Olave is great all over the field, and Thomas should be good all over the field, but we'll see on that. There's a lot of question marks there. I think there's a good chance that he isn't to the level we expect, and Olave takes off. That's the problem. But right now, I won't do that. Just out of I never do that with rookies. Even like last year with Chase, I gave him a ton. And I had him as the one in the room, but it was
me too.
Barely. It was barely above Higgins.
Which when Higgins was healthy, that's exactly how it went. Exactly. That's how it probably will go.
But that's Jamar Chase's game. Olave, that's not his game.
True.
He's not going to have 3 catches for 120 yards and 2 scores. That's not how he plays.
Yeah. I don't have much else here. My hot take is that the Saints are going to have a top 10 offense in football because this wide receiver room with Michael Thomas healthy is one of the best in the NFL, assuming that Olave hits the ground running, which I believe he will. Alvin Kamara being there for the full 17, I think would then make this offense absolutely deadly. And obviously, secret weapon Taysom Hill at tight end. So
Yeah, it's very tough. They have a tough schedule as well.
they do.
So I have them, I believe, just missing out on the playoffs as of right now. That's our next episode, by the way, is record prediction. We are both still flushing that out clearly. Especially the AFC, which is an absolute fucking bloodbath that I don't know what to make of at this point. So, but the Watson 6 apparent guarantee does give enough clarity that I think I'm comfortable giving that next week. I was definitely scared we wouldn't get that early. We're just guessing.
Yeah. I'm glad we kind of have a little bit of clarity there. All right, let's get into our hero running back mock draft. Randy is going to just rock a normal draft here. So Randy's probably going to draft
RB for Randy.
I was just going to say Randy's going to draft 7 running backs and make this really, really
difficult.
First
7 picks will be running backs.
Yes, but we're going to kick it off right now. And
just normal league, 1 single quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receiver, tight end, 2 flex, bunch of bench spots, 16 rounds. We'll bust through it quick like we normally do for these. Everything makes sense here except that Jonathan Taylor went 3rd. Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor. For me, I think Eckler is the pick here for me. I think Kupp makes a ton of sense, but I don't see him keeping the pace. And then all counts are Allen Robinson's killing it right now. So I think both those get heavily targeted. I'm going to keep Eckler and take an RB here.
All that talk about Alvin Kamara, and here we are. Okay, after you, Dalvin Cook, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Najee Harris, Nick Chubb. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go Joe Mixon as my start here. So my hero running back is going to be Joe Mixon. I think that's safe. You can't really go hero running back and take Alvin Kamara in case he does end up getting suspended.
You can't have weeks off like that.
No. And then I am going to take Stephon Diggs as my second pick. After me, DeAndre Swift, CeeDee Lamb, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Alvin Kamara, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen as the first quarterback here in the second round.
That was just fucking rude with the I'm going to pair Austin Eckler with Aaron Jones here. I think it is an easy pick in the second round. I think Debo is a good pick there as well, just to balance your sheet there. But after me, Debo, Saquon Barkley, you have 3rd round reversal on. So you're
Evidently.
up.
Yeah.
You could fix it quick if you want.
It's all right. Well, we'll just go 3rd round reversal. So this is 3rd round reversal now, which is going to make my life so much harder, I think.
I think I would have went Debo. I don't know that.
Yeah, that's okay. I talked all that crap about Kyle Pitts. I think that would be a really good pick here with the top 2 off the board. But I do believe in Kittle. I do feel like I'll get a decent option at tight end. And so I am going to take Deontay Johnson as my wide receiver 2.
Okay. After you, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, Justin Herbert, Cam Akers, and Kyle Pitts off the board. This is tough for me because the wide receivers here are weird. So everything points to me going running back, and I definitely fucking am. I'm going Zeke here. I'm taking the 3rd running back. It's robust. I get it. I'm predictable. I don't care. Darren Waller, David Montgomery, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Patrick Mahomes, and James Conner off the board past then. For me, for my wide receiver 1, out of Waddle, Pittman, Metcalf, Moore, I'm going Pittman here. I just think he has a chance to actually be the 1 of his team there because I think Waddle is the second pick there for me. But I'm happy with Pittman as my 1.
Yeah, he's probably going to finish as a 1 for what it's worth. Antonio Gibson, George Kittle, Breece Hall, Lamar Jackson, DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, J.K. Dobbins. I'm going to take Mike Williams first.
Yeah, I was hoping he got back to me.
Yeah. And then, with all the injuries happening in Dallas, I feel like Dalton Schultz has a chance to finish as a top 3 tight end this year. So I'm going to take Dalton Schultz as my first tight end here.
He's finally on board with me. It just took 7 injuries.
Yes.
TJ Moore, Josh Jacobs, Allen Robinson, Travis Etienne, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Joe Burrow, and Cortland Sutton off the board. Oof. That's a tough one because I think I'm just rolled with what I've been believing. Jerry Jeudy, fuck everything. I'm not going against what I've been saying. Elijah Mitchell, Marquise Brown, AJ Dillon, Kyler Murray, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper. Hawkinson is fun, but I just don't care enough. I think I'm set with my 3 running backs. Hurts, Wilson, Prescott, Brady. I'm waiting. I'm going Chris Godwin. All signs are pointing that he may not miss a week, like we talked about. If anything, he misses 2 weeks or so, and I fill in the gaps. It's a 3-star wide receiver. I think it was key to get the starting position of wide receiver kind of locked up there. I still have 1 flex starter left.
Yeah.
Wall Christian Ponders, Miles Sanders, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Michael Thomas, Darnell Mooney, Jalen Hurts, Damian Harris, and Ken Walker, however he wants.
Yeah, it'd be Ken. I'm going to wait on quarterback for now. I can't go running back yet, technically, because of the strategy that we are implementing.
Yeah, I think you can with the next pick, at least.
Yeah, it'd be close. Really, I mean, I've taken Hunter Renfrow in a lot of these drafts. That's probably what my pick would be here, but I'm going to go a different direction just to see a different build. I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman being the wide receiver 1 in Baltimore to start. I think I'm going to skip running back again and see
It's fine.
See how it goes. I think I'm going to go. I'm not going to go quarterback here.
You would still have a flex position open, just so you know.
Yeah.
So you could go another wide receiver is my point.
Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do. You know what? I'll take a shot on Drake London. I
was going to say, I think for your build here, Drake London or Gabe Davis is the pick. Because if either hit, your receiver is ridiculous. It already is ridiculous, but that's...
I wouldn't love having both Diggs and Gabe Davis for what it's worth.
That's perfectly fine. I was just more of how the wide receiver room's filled out for you there.
For sure.
TJ Hawkinson, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins, Devonta Smith, Adam Thielen, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cordero Patterson off the board. After that, I'm going Gabe Davis here to be my wide receiver 4. Russell Wilson, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Devin Singletary, Tony Pollard, Treylon Burks off the board. I have 4 wide receivers. I'm getting my 4th running back. I think one of the safer plays is Edmonds. I have Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, and Zeke. I don't need safe. I need world beater. If it works, Rashad Penny. Full send.
You're the worst. That was going to be my pick as my RB2, and I was really happy with it.
It was between him and Hunter Renfrow, if that makes you feel any better. Who went right after? Elijah Moore, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Dak Prescott, Tom Brady. A little bit of a quarterback run there.
Yeah. I think Chase Edmonds has some value, even if I don't think he's going to lead the Dolphins in carries. I think that him being my running back 2 would be solid, and I feel like I'm at a point where I can. Am I allowed to take running back, you think?
Yeah, I said you could last round.
Yeah, I know.
I think Chase Edmonds leads the running backs in touches, regardless. Is it pure carries? I don't know, but I think touches he does.
Yeah, and receptions are more valuable. So Chase Edmonds.
I think he doesn't carries just simply because they split it between the other guys, but we'll see.
Yeah. So I'm going to take Chase Edmonds and then James Robinson because I do think that James Robinson is on a good path to playing pretty early in the year, and that being my running back 3 could give me running back 2 upside And that's what I need right here.
Okay, so Chris Olave, Dawson Knox, Melvin Gordon, James Cook, Sky Moore, Aaron Rodgers, Chase Claypool off the board. Egats. It's a weird board here. I think Robert Woods is the safe pick to give me a safe wide receiver 5. Pat Freiermuth, Alan Lazard, who I was debating between there. Michael Gallup, Christian Kirk, Trey Lance. So I think Ramondre Stevenson is a solid pick here. He's getting a lot of talk of getting work with the ones and all that. I think that one's a little bit more substantial than the Gainwell stuff, but I still think Harris is clearly the one. He's very easily in the offense already, so they want to give Stevenson a little bit more look.
Yeah.
Man, I think I could wait at wide receiver. I think I take my quarterback here in the 10th round because while there is some left here, and Watson is there, and I think double dipping makes sense. The problem is, I think Stafford and Carr finish generally the same. So, and I don't have a stack available. Eek.
Ryan Tannehill.
Shut up. You know what? Actually, I'm waiting on quarterback because I would in the regular draft because there's so many on the board here and there's not enough teams. So, Eek. I'll go Stevenson. I'll go chance at the upside there at running back. I think I could easily get a good quarterback here, as you were kind of alluding to. Stafford, Gesicki, Michael Carter, Russell Gage, Kadarius Toney, Derek Carr, Ronald Jones off the board. Both quarterbacks I talked about.
Here I need to take my 4th running back. I feel Nyheim Hines or Rachaad White. I think both are good options. I'm going to go with Hines here. There's been a lot of hype about him lining up at slot again and being a weapon instead of just a weird backup running back. And then I am going to go ahead and I think there's a world in which Kirk Cousins finishes top 5 this year with how the Vikings offense is going to operate. I think that's a good pick here. I feel pretty confident that I could double dip a quarterback and get Watson and Fields. And so
the quarterbacks, there were so many available left, and most teams have it. I mean, you literally look, the team took Dak and Derek in almost back-to-back rounds. It's pretty much just me and you that don't have quarterbacks. I think it is just me and you that don't have quarterbacks.
Yeah, and so I'm going to take Deshaun Watson. I think he's a weekly QB1 when he plays, even if we'll leave it at that.
Yep. Cole Kmet, who probably would have been my pick, by the way. Tyler Boyd, Kirk Cousins, Alexander Madison, Isaiah Spiller, Dameon Pierce, Hunter Henry off the board. The quarterbacks definitely dwindled right there. I was kind of hoping something different couldn't happen. I'm probably double tapping here. Quarterback is the bad thing.
Just fantastic for me. That's great. Love that.
I'm taking Tua to start.
Okay. All right.
Because I think he's the safe option. MVS, Jarvis Landry, Jameson Williams off the board. So that was the wide receiver I was thinking of picking. Jahan Dotson off the board. Albert O, not trying it. And Rachaad White off the board, the running back I would have taken. So, yeah, Justin Fields easy for me here. I'm happy going into the season with those two quarterbacks. I think both have a solid chance to be back on quarterback ones this year. I believe it was over half the games Fields started. He was a quarterback 1 during those weeks. I think that can continue, even if the offense didn't necessarily improve.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to hit my double tap, but first, Rondale Moore, Tyler Algier, Noah Fant, Darrell Henderson, Irv Smith, Kenny Golladay, Marlon Mack. And, in the ADP, Trevor Lawrence, Matt Ryan are ahead of this guy, but I just talked about how I think the Saints have a top 10 offense. I think Jameis Winston can get me through the first 6 weeks before I need to start Watson, and I would be comfortable using this strategy and getting Watson in week 7 for what it's worth.
Also, for what's worth, I think Watson starts to climb up the boards a bit.
He will. He for sure will. All right. With my wide receivers and the way I picked them, I have one rookie. I think I can take some shots here if I want. I've got, 3 picks left? 4 picks left? 4 picks.
4 picks, yep.
Jacoby Myers doesn't interest me. He's never going to crack my starting lineup with the wide receivers that I have currently. Devontae Parker, no. Tim Patrick, no. I think George Pickens or DJ Chark are good picks. I think Julio Jones is a really good pick here. I also think that his upside is capped. So I'm going to go with George Pickens. I'm going to toss 2 rookie receivers on this team.
Yeah, makes perfect sense to me. After you, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Higbee, J.D. McKissick, David Njoku, shit. Trevor Lawrence, Gus Edwards, Tim Patrick off the board. Yeah, it's getting a little tight. I'm pretty weak at tight end. There's no question there. You know what you do when you're weak at tight end? You completely punt. No, I'm going to take Gerald Everett here. Top end offense. I'm going to try and trust that system. And I'm double tapping. I don't know if I'll do it here necessarily, but Devontae Parker, DJ Chark, Kenneth Gainwell, Mark Ingram, Mecole Hardman, and Matt Ryan off the board. I think Tolbert is a fun pick here. We already talked about it kind of today, to where he could get a lot of touches early, at least maybe the first month, and kind of carve out a role for himself. But it's still to be seen. Julio, like you said, is a good pick. Van, unfortunately, isn't a good pick anymore. We've seen a lot of Alec Pierce playing pretty well, so I think that's also a good receiver pick here. I don't need a third quarterback or anything. I think I'm happy with how I could pick later at wide receiver running back. I'm going Tunyon here. So I get 2 late round tight ends that should be on high-powered offenses and should have touchdown equity. I definitely think Tunyon more than ever in that capacity, just because of the targets around him is much weaker. But I think I easily get 1 tight end out of those 2. So,
yeah. After you, Jalen Tolbert, Khalil Herbert, Darrell Williams, Ty Davis-Price, Raheem Mostert, Van Jefferson, Julio Jones. I would have taken Julio in a heartbeat. Here's where I don't really know what to do because my running backs are still pretty bad. I have 4 running backs. They are currently Joe Mixon, Chase Edmonds. That's fine. James Robinson, Nyheim Hines. That's not quite ideal. And so while I do believe Sony Michel finishes higher than this guy, I think the upside of having Sony and Chase Edmonds on the same team is just not there. And so I'm gonna go with Brian Robinson here, even though I don't think he's very good. I don't know what his role will be. It is what it is, and it's an upside pick. How's that for selling you on it?
I know, right? I think he's dog shit, but why not?
So here I'm going to take another wide receiver. I think there are 3 really good options. KJ Osborne. I just talked about the Vikings offense. They're going to be in 3 wide receiver sets, and Osborne was good last year when given the opportunity. He'll be on the field a lot. They are utilizing him heavily in camp thus far. Joshua Palmer. I think the same thing. He is the wide receiver 3 for one of the best offenses in football. And then Paris Campbell, you mentioned Alec Pierce. Paris Campbell is also being a dog. He's got that dog in him, is the analysis here. Just to switch it up, I'm going to go Osborne, though, because I think that a Thielen injury makes Osborne a weekly start. And even if I don't need it, it's a trade piece.
Yep. Jamison Crowder, Chuba Hubbard, Jamal Williams, Mac Jones, Austin Hooper, Alec Pierce, Deonta Foreman off the board. Not great. That's a tough one for me. I think I take the upside of Sony here, just in case, just to kind of diversify my room a bit. Zamira White, Hassan Haskins, Zach Wilson, Hayden Hurst, Keontae Ingram, and Kenyon Drake off the board. Someone I need to know if they play well or I get to cut them. Boy, oh boy, does that just entail Paris Campbell in a nutshell, or is it just me? Paris Campbell to finish here.
Yeah, I think Jerick McKinnon made sense too, and he went the next pick. So
yeah, he did. We both love Paris in college, obviously, and he's obviously been a kind of a training camp warrior every year, but he just can't stay healthy. So I think that's a good pick for both those final 2. I think both are very cuttable, and we know what they bring to the table through the preseason here.
Yeah. So after you, Jerick McKinnon, Curtis Samuel, Chris Evans, Dontrell Hilliard. Wow,
Yes.
I'm tired. Boston Scott, Dearness Johnson, Ryan Tannehill as the last quarterback off the board. And then with the John Mechie news that we discussed last Monday, unfortunately, I do think that Brevin Jordan is a really good upside play. When I fixed my projections for him, or for the Texans, Brevin Jordan finishes inside the top 15. I think you'll know what he is really, really quickly. So I think he's a good.
Yeah.
That would be my second tight end here. So
Yeah, I think Nico Collins is obviously a shout out of that same situation, but I think you'd be more willing to hold on to him to see what kind of is going
right.
on. So I do agree with your switch there. And Brian, and while Osborne isn't really a see and cut kind of guy, I think Robinson clearly is. So you kind of went a little bit early, but got upside with it. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna read off my squad first.
This is the hero RB strategy. Before you,
yes, hero running back. We'll see how I like it. Deshaun Watson at quarterback in week 7, and who was my other quarterback that I picked? Jameis Winston. So Jameis Winston, technically Joe Mixon, Chase Edmonds, Stephon Diggs, Deontay Johnson, Mike Williams, Dalton Schultz, Rashad Bateman, Drake London. On my bench, James Robinson, Nyheim Hines. Jameis, like I said, George Pickens, Brian Robinson, KJ Osborne, and Brevin Jordan.
Yeah, that's
it is what it
insane.
is. It's. I'll say I would easily have the strongest wide receiver room in the league.
Oh, no question. And I think
3 wide receiver ones. Yeah. All right.
You have 3 easy wide receiver ones, honestly. Spot the weaknesses. Tua Tagovailoa, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, Michael Pittman, Jerry Jeudy, Chris Godwin, Gerald Everett, Ezekiel Elliott, Gabriel Davis, Rashad Penny, Robert Woods, Ramondre Stevenson, Justin Fields, Robert Tonyan, Sonny Michel, and Paris Campbell. So I think I always this isn't a pat myself in the back, but I always end up with a pretty balanced attack, even though I normally go heavy RB early. So I think it shows that like me going 3 RBs to start and getting Pittman, Judy, and Godwin scrolls back up, and Godwin, along with Gabe Davis and Robert Woods to kind of round out the room, shows that you can definitely take a huge chunk of running back early and then just take upside shots later, like I did with Penny and Stevenson and a couple others. That's why I tend to go towards that strategy more, but it also is where I'm at in the draft. A lot of times it changes. It changes with super flex leagues and regular one quarterback. One quarterback we both tend to really like to wait on quarterback. So
for sure,
it's just how it is. There was a couple rounds where I wish I got the tight end to follow me like I wanted, but I'm happy with the 2 quarterbacks. They're not world beaters, but both could be ones.
Yeah. I think ultimately I like your team better. And so I wouldn't employ this strategy from the 12 spot. That's what I kind of wanted to highlight is I think this strategy works much better when you can anchor with
top
or like go
4 or 5 running back.
Yeah, which realistically, like Joe Mixon could be that, but I feel less confident in it. So I feel like that clouds my perception of what the team is. So
yeah, it does. And you don't like Edmonds a lot. And I think Robinson is fun, but it's tough to see like the full upside of him coming off the injury and ETN there. So the room, while it will flesh out through the year, it does look a little bit rough on paper. Well, obviously the wide receiver room is ridiculous, and you would easily be able to trade any of those top 5 receivers you drafted that are all starters for you for a starting running back without question. But you don't do these strats to have trade bait. You do them because the value fell that way and you think you can work it out that way. And if you could get, say, another running back in one of those middle rounds that you liked a little bit better, like you didn't go, like you went, Hunt or Penny instead of London there, maybe you're a little bit happier with your room. So maybe that's the lesson you take from it. Like those are the kind of things. That's what you do mocks, though. That's where you flesh it out. And all these strategies can work, and that's why we do them. But there's also clear disadvantages to them for a reason. and there's just one or two picks in the strategy can really hurt you if they don't land. And obviously, we don't talk about injuries and that because you're fucked anyways. So
yeah, that happens more often than not. But
yeah,
overall, I mean, this is good. We do recommend doing mock drafts before you go into your fantasy drafts,
a
and
ton.
yeah, and just kind of, especially once you know your draft position. So that's why we're struggling in the all 22 league, because we couldn't do that. So
100%.
Yeah. So, all right, that'll do it for this episode of The Cut. If you're listening on the podcast forum, try to leave us a 4 or 5 star review for a 1 or 2 star podcast. Let us know, but hit the 4 or 5 stars. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're listening, also subscribe. We'll be back next week. We're doing record predictions finally. I say finally, it just hit August, but I feel like we've been waiting to do them. So we're going to figure all those out and talk through the whole NFL schedule essentially, and then how we see the playoff shaking out, the Super Bowl. We go all the way to the Super Bowl champ, and it's fun. So we'll be doing it next week. Randy, anything else before we bounce?
I guess not in particular. Hopefully we get a little bit more clarification on like Watson and Hunt, or not Hunt, and Kamara and a few others, and get some more training camp news. We're going to definitely try and keep the news aspect next week very, very short, because that record projection is going to take a while. Even though we're not going to go week by week, it's going to be division by division or conference by conference. We'll figure it out necessarily, but either way, it takes a long time. So be ready for that, and good luck to your teams because it is crazy. The schedule is difficult to predict this year.
Yeah, especially on the AFC side. It's going to be a fun one. We're probably going to fight like we did about the Lions last year. And damn it, I was just a year early. I'm probably getting 5 or 6 wins.
A little bit, yeah. And you argued against me on the Bengals, who I was also wrong on, but I had about like 8 wins, I think.
Yeah, I was really off on the Bengals last year.
They outkicked their coverage a lot of the time. But they formed a full team near the end of the year, and now they have the offensive line.
Yeah, we'll see what they are. Also, a much better division. So,
yes.
So, all right. Well, kind of Pittsburgh, not really. All right, we will be back doing that next week. It should be a fun episode. We'll probably kick off closer to 10:15, 10:30. We were a little late this time if you watch live, so we'll be a little early next week. So. All right. For Randy Hall, I'm Christian Williams. We'll talk to you guys next week. Later.